November 2nd, 2007. That was the last day that Marshall beat Madison in football. Back then, I was 3 years old. The iPhone was new. It had just come out. AI wasn't around. Uber and Lyft weren't around. The world we knew it was very different. That was a long time ago. That was, exactly 6,000 days ago. That's a lot of days. And it's supposed to be a rivalry. They call it the Vienna Rotary Bowl. It's supposed to be, because kids in Vienna, they're always debating whether they go to Marshall or Madison. And some kids, most of them go to the school that they're zoned for. Some of the kids in Madison district go to Marshall, specifically for things like the IB program. But also, some kids zoned for Marshall go to Madison, which I don't know why, honestly. I don't know why would you do that. Marshall, in my opinion, has better facilities. But I went to Madison, and I was a manager on the football team there for 3 years. And one thing was for sure, Madison football was really good. Went to state semis one year, state championship another year. They were dominant. But it wasn't always this way. They weren't always dominant. They've had some mid-years. But one thing in common every single year, they'd always play Marshall. Marshall and Madison would always play each other. And it's a game that everyone in Vienna, Tysons, Falls Church areas would go to. And that everyone would enjoy it because they would see their friends there. And everyone would be there supporting their school, talking trash to each other. And it was all fun, except it has been 17 straight seasons without Marshall beating Madison. And they met 17 times the regular season since 2007. And from the 2008 season on to the 2024 season, which was the most recent season, Madison has won all 17. 17-0 in the series since then. 17-0. If that's not lopsided, I don't know what it is, because that is the definition of a lopsided. People keep saying rivalry, Rotary Bowl is supposed to be a good name for a rivalry, but the truth is this ain't no rivalry. Hasn't been a rivalry in 17 years. You think about it, I think they met 17 times the regular season, and I think they only had one time, they only met once in the playoffs. That was a blowout, 35-6. But in the regular season, they haven't fared much better either. Most of those games have been blowouts. This ain't no rivalry. It is so one-sided. Marshall's supposed to have better facilities. They're obviously more diverse. The Madison, whoever associates Madison with the football team, Marshall's had guys go pro. They've had 3 players to play in the NFL go through their football program. Madison has had none, at least so far. And historically, it's always been tight. Historically, back in the day, it was a rivalry. People actually enjoyed going to Marshall-Madison games. They still enjoy it, but they actually went to the games not knowing who was going to win. Now you basically know Madison's going to win. You just go to the games to see your friends, but you already know what's going to happen on the field. And it's so predictable year after year. Marshall community can only hope that this is the year. 2020, this is 2025, this is the year that Marshall's finally going to snap the streak and keep the Rotary Cup on Route 7, or whatever it's called, and finally beat Madison for the first time since 2007 in 18 years. I keep saying that. They said that last year, the year before. Even somebody said on Facebook in 2021, he's hoping the Vienna Rotary Cup stays on Route 7 for this year, up until next year. But the truth is, the Rotary Cup, what do you mean stays on Route 7? It hasn't been on Route 7 in 14 years. Since that was posted in 2021. It hasn't been on there in 14 years. So the only thing staying on Route 7 is an L. And predictably, that's what happened. Marshall took the L, as they do every single year. And it's just not fair. It's not fair at all. It's not fair to the players at Marshall, which you don't really have much. Maybe you do now, but there was a time they've cut back on allowing you to choose your high school due to overpopulation at Marshall, because a lot of people were choosing Marshall. Marshall's supposed to be a more popular destination. You'd think they would be more successful. But in every single sport, it seems Madison, like in baseball, in a playoff game, Madison Marshall met, and the final score was 11-1, and Madison won. Like, it wasn't even close. These two schools are not on the same level. Marshall has clearly been little brother in the rivalry, and it sucks. Like, the Marshall community, like, they want a rivalry. Like, they don't have any other rivals. Like, is McLean a rival? Is Langley a rival? Seems not really. It seems like the biggest rival is Madison, because kids from Marshall and Madison, like, they go to the same elementary, middle schools. They know each other. And that's what makes the rivalry. I mean, it's not a rivalry, but that's what makes it unique. I mean, maybe in other sports it's a rivalry, but if you're being honest, the sport people go to is football. When you talk about high school sports, homecoming's built around football. Everything's built around a football game. Football is king, and that's just how it is. Even people who don't care about football would come out to support their school in the games. In high school, suddenly all the girls, like all the kids, everyone loves football, and that's just how it's been. That's how it's been for years. Because high schools have football teams, and that's their students do everything they can to support their team. And it sucks that Marshall can't see their team get a rivalry win. They haven't done it since some of the students now weren't even alive yet last time they did it. And they grew up. It's definitely influenced a lot of VYI. People think this is only going to get, it seems like this is only going to get worse, because all the kids at VYI, they see those Marshall Madison games. Every little kid running around at Waters Field, they're going to want to be a Madison Warhawk when they grow up. Like, they don't want Marshall. They see a Marshall as, like, almost as irrelevant as Oakland is at this point. Like, they want to be a Madison Warhawk. And that's, they keep developing and working on their craft, wanting to go to Madison. And eventually they end up at Madison and becoming the star and picking off the Marshall quarterback to win the game. Oh, wait, the game won't even be that close. It won't even come down to a play like that. They make play after play in the rivalry, and Marshall is left with the scraps, trying to see who they can get, if they can convince anyone to come out to play for them. They've had some good players in the past, I would say. Some guys that have gone to play at the college level, but they just can't compete with Madison. That is a real problem. Like, it sucks that it's not a rivalry, because I love rivalries. And even as someone who went to Madison, I want nothing more than for this to become a rivalry again. And it's a shame. I don't see that happening anytime soon. The games haven't been close recently. I think every year since 2008, I looked it up, it has been a blowout. Even 2013, when Madison went 1-9, they still beat Marshall 49-18. Like, even when Madison is garbage, they still beat Marshall. Marshall can't even compete with them. I will say, one year it was close, 2019. It was 15-13. It was pretty evenly matched the whole game, and it came down to Marshall missing a 2-point conversion. That was their shot. Like, that could have been a big win for Marshall. Would have been a giant win, because Madison, the success Madison has had recently, to beat a team like that in a rivalry game would have been unmatched. It probably would have changed some people's minds at Waters Field. People wanted to be Marshall statesmen. Could have set the tone for maybe even a Marshall dynasty. Oh, probably not, but maybe a string of success for Marshall. Maybe a string of wins against Madison. But instead, they lost that game. A bunch of seniors graduated. They haven't come close to beating Madison since. So, now that we know Madison owns Marshall, what is the cause of this? What happened to this rivalry? Well, I have a few guesses to that. I don't know for sure because I didn't play football for Madison or Marshall. I was a manager. Like, what does a manager know? But my first guess would be Madison's football program is more stable than Marshall's. It's because they've had fewer coaches during that time frame. It seems like Marshall's always switching coaches. They've had, I don't know, 6 coaches since then, and Madison's had like 3. And then Madison's only had to change coaches because one of their coaches died in that tragedy. And they've been more stable, and Marshall's had coaches leave. Sometimes can't hold on to their own staff, even their own players in other sports. Sometimes they leave for better schools. Madison, I mean, technically every school has dealt with that in some sport, but Madison has created a strong culture, and that is a big reason why they've been so successful. But on top of that, obviously Madison has had better players, and who should we? Is that Marshall's fault? Like, is Marshall supposed to do some convincing and convince every little kid at Wires to play at Marshall? They haven't beat Madison in a while, so that must play a role in them not getting good enough players. Maybe if they beat Madison once, maybe those kids at Wires that want to come to Madison, they want to come to Madison, they'll want to come to Marshall. And if those kids go to Marshall, Marshall will start having better players, and that'll increase the chances of winning more and making it a rivalry again. Like, no one likes when a rivalry is this one-sided. So, yeah, that's another reason. It's because they haven't won. It's like a domino effect. Nobody wants to go there, and because nobody wants to go there, they can't win. And any incoming coach, any incoming players, it's not their fault they haven't won in 15 years. I mean, it's probably their fault for choosing the wrong school, to be honest. But it's not their fault. They just don't have a chance. Like, they don't have a fighter's chance. They're the ones that are going to take the L, but it's really not their fault. The only thing they did wrong was pick the wrong school. It's not their fault. Their school hasn't won in 15 years, and no good players want to go there. Or most of the good players want to go to Madison, like even the ones zoned for Marshall. It's really not their fault. So, main 2 reasons I believe are stability and the domino effect. Obviously, Madison has a lower turnover than Marshall, which is good. Maybe it's their development program, because the Falls Church doesn't really have a VYI like Vienna does, and most of the VYI guys live in Vienna, and they go to schools that feed into Madison, and since their friends are going to Madison, they want to go there. So a lot of it is not Marshall's fault. Like, it's not their fault they're in their school in Falls Church, and a lot of schools in Vienna, some schools in Vienna feed into them. So they can get a little bit of UII players, but not a lot. So a lot of their guys don't really have football experience. Mainly, a lot of Tyson's and Foster's kids can play UII, but they don't know about it as a kid, or they just don't like football as a kid. And then eventually, their football team needs players, and they're decent athletes, so they go play for the team, because why not? Why not try a new high school sport? So that's another reason. And all 3 of these reasons, they're not something that can be fixed instantly. They would take time to fix. And it would take time. It would definitely take time to make Marshall Madison a rivalry game. Even if Marshall lucks into a fluke win in one of these next few years, it won't be a rivalry until they start alternating, or splitting games, or meeting in the playoffs, and not even winning. But if Marshall just can make it a game every year, that'll be an improvement. Like, make it a game. Play them close. Like, get on their level. I know it's gonna be hard because Madison's a wagon. They've been a wagon recently. Been to 3 state championships, and been to won 5 straight regional championships. So that would be hard to do. But maybe, just maybe, Madison's players are going to graduate eventually. The coaching staff's going to leave. Maybe that's what will make this a rivalry again. But it's not anything a certain coach can come to Marshall and instantly save them and make it a rivalry again. Like, if you were a coach hired at Marshall, like, what would you do? You can petition the district to... The main issue would be the districting. You can petition some Madison people to switch to Marshall. Petition some Madison neighborhoods to be zoned to Marshall. But that stuff's going to take time to do. And nothing a coach is going to do is going to make up for the big gap there is between Marshall and Madison. And if a coach gets whenever to the incoming players at Marshall, to an incoming coach at Marshall, I wish you good luck, even though I went to Madison, because mainly I want this to be a rivalry again. That's the main idea. But again, let me know in the comments, how would you fix Marshall? Why do you think Marshall-Madison has been so one-sided recently? And don't forget to like and subscribe. Peace.